Hi, and welcome to today's podcast. But before we get underway, I want to just mention a quick word from our sponsor, PropTex. PropTex is a fantastic tool that property portals, franchise groups, and even real estate agents around the world can use to help get better engagement with listings. And what does PropTex do? It's very simple. It's a plug-and-play tool that allows visitors to a website to alter, change, and at the end of the day, get better engagement with listings. So think about this. You visit a property, you see the house that you like, your rooms you like, and you wonder, what else could this room look like? Could I convert it to a bathroom? Could I convert it to a bedroom? Or could I even put my own furniture into that room? PropTex allows you to not only think about it, but actually visualize it using AI technology. Fantastic tool used by Scout24 and other large players around the world, including the NAR. You should try it today. Contact PropTex. Contact Stefan at proptex.com. That's STEFAN at PropTex, PROPTEXX.com. Now, let's get into today's podcast. And Harvey, over to you.
Hello and welcome to the PPW podcast, bringing you news, views and interviews from the world of real estate, online marketplaces and prop tech industries. My name is Harvey Hancock. I'm news editor at Online Marketplaces. It's been a while, but I will be your host today, and we are looking forward to a very interesting conversation about AI agentic search. And there's only one person that we can do that with, and that is the AI evangelist, Simon Baker. Simon, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. But I think we're going to talk to Malcolm as well. And I got a feeling he's got far, far greater insights than I do because he's out there pumping this with all the agents in the United Kingdom. So I'm looking forward to today's conversation.
And today's very special guest, it is Malcolm McCallion. Second time on the podcast, Mal. Welcome back.
Thanks very much indeed, Harvey. Lovely to be here and super excited to get stuck into some new AI. It seems like, as you say, kind of every other week there's something brand new to talk about. So delighted to be discussing this particular issue.
Let's get straight into it, Mal. What is agentic search? And firstly, why is it important? And secondly, what can you tell us about it?
Sure. So up to this point, so let's call it the beginning of 2025, most of the AI that we've been exposed to and experienced over the 2 years since ChatGPT 3.5 launch has been generative AI. Okay, so generative AI is basically you put in a prompt and it comes back. So you ask it a question and it will come back with the most likely sequence of words that is the answer to that question. Similarly, it works on images. So if you put in a prompt for, a baboon playing football on the moon, then it will come back with the most likely combination of pixels that is a description or an image of that. So generative AI has been around for a little while and everyone's got kind of used to it. It's all very cool. Agentic AI is actually is purpose-led. So rather than you giving it prompts and asking a question, what you're actually doing is you're giving it a purpose. So a good example, and perhaps the most appropriate one for our purposes today, is if you're looking for a property, what you can do is you can get agentic AI. You can say, right, what I really am looking for is a 3-bedroom property that has a sea view, really love skylights in the kitchen. It's got to be near a train station because I've got to get into work. And also, I've got a 5-year-old, so it needs to be somewhere near a nursery and then a primary school. And agentic AI will go away and find all of the properties that fulfill that criteria. Okay, it will take a few minutes rather than generative AI. We're quite used to that coming back really, really quickly. But it will do proper research. And the kind of the gold standard model right now is something from OpenAI called deep research. And it's quite expensive at the moment, so it's $200 per month. But it is as with all these things, it will plummet in price over the next year, and it is going to be something that I think is going to significantly change how people search for property, and therefore it will significantly change the landscape of portals, of estate agents, and everything that we talk about and we care about here.
Simon, talk to us about agentic search. What's your feeling about it on the surface? And maybe could you give us a little bit of an overview of what you see the strengths, weaknesses of
Well,
agentic search
let's
for the
take a
users.
step back and think about agentic search, not just in the real estate space, but far beyond. I mean, I'm forever looking at plane tickets, right? Way too much travel. Now I can go and say, I need to go, I do have to do this next week. I need to go from Miami to Los Angeles, go there for a day, do meetings, come back. These are the sort of characteristics I'm looking at. Just come back with the best answer. Now, yes, I could have gone to Kayak and fill in a form and get them and crawl through the results. But agentic search knows a bit more about me. I prefer to fly one world, so American Airlines, rather than flying on Delta or something. I don't want to stop in between. I want a direct flight. And then then you can just go book. Or it may even know more about my points situation. I've got points on, I don't know, British Airways. Can I apply them to the flight and get a discounted ticket or get an upgrade or whatever? And then you go to the next step. Hey, I'm looking for a hotel. I want to go to New York and I want to do this, that, and the other thing. I want a hotel. I want to be near Central Park. I want to have no more than, well, it's New York, so it's going to be a lot of money anyway, no more than between $400 and $500 a night. Really want a 4-star or better hotel, and I'm taking my dog. Just answer that question. So it goes from search, where I've got to go to Kayak or someone, put in those results, put in some filters, crawl through them all, look at all the comparisons, see where they're on a map. So it just comes back to me with the results. And that's doing the job for me. And why can't that then apply to real estate, which I think is what Malcolm was talking about before. It goes that step further. Now, Malcolm, have you been playing with it? Because I know with OpenAI's operator.chatgpt.com, as long as you're in the US and you pay your $200 a month, you can have a play with it. You did that without being in the US because a VPN works. What happened?
So it is amazing. All right. And like I said, that the ability to essentially, the jumping off point, I think, was really interesting. So actually you start from the point of, what do I really want? Just like you said, I really want to go on this particular journey. So instead of being constrained by the filters, that every website has had for 25 years, which is, location, bedroom numbers, whatever, you just start with, I really, really, really want a riverside setting or whatever. So I was sitting with a significantly large agent over here in the UK on Wednesday, and we were doing this, right? So this is actually live now. We can access it from the UK too, provided you pay your $200. So we were playing around with it, and they were just saying, right, well, could you do a £2 to £4 million properties period in Islington with a garden and a few other bits and pieces? And we set it to work, and then we had the meeting, and at the end it was kind of like and here's what we made earlier. But it cooked away, and then it came back, and it was brilliant. Essentially what it did was it put in, it pulled together properties, yes, from the portals. Okay, so there were, I think it was 14 overall in the results, and there was one from Rightmove, 2 from Zoopla, 1 from On the Market, but the rest of them were estate agent websites. So actually, what we're looking at, in my view, is that essentially that the aggregation function that has been convenient for consumers, for the last 25 years, that portals do so well, that aggregation is now possible through this other medium. And we all know, and some of you are involved in Mitula, and there was Trovit, and there was Nestoria, and there was these meta portals kind of sprung up, in the early 2000s and so on. And then the portals just kind of, certainly in the UK, blocked access to their portals because they knew that the meta portals, if they had 100% of the market, were going to be a problem. But this is a real challenge, I think, for particularly the dominant portal in any area, because ChatGPT and all of these AIs are essentially using the same SEO rules, so the robots.txt files, to access this information. Now, if Rightmove, for example, and obviously others, decide they want to try and block ChatGPT from accessing their data in order to block this kind of global meta search possibility, then they're going to start harming their own organic search results, because Google will also then be blocked from the robots.txt file. So I think it's a real kind of challenge, and obviously a brand new one, and one that they probably haven't faced in decades, in terms of how do they actually, how do portals, particularly leading portals, battle away this particular ability for humans, us, to actually essentially search the whole market, everything, and even Rightmove's only got like 96%, say it's got like something like 96%. There will be other properties that are on estate agent websites who aren't on Rightmove that are now suddenly available. And, as long as provided that they fulfill the criteria that I'm looking for, then they're going to be discoverable. Interestingly, another one that was on this list was from a news article. And it was the estate agent was Dexter's, but it was a news article about a particular renovation, about a particular property that was in the right price bracket, in the right location. So it looks everywhere, and PR and social media posts and all this other, the other marketing channels that are open to agents that perhaps haven't produced as much ROI as the portals in the past. These are now going to become much more viable, and it's going to be much more a case, I think, of you looking at the property and deciding where to put it, rather than looking at the portal and deciding to put everything on it.
So I guess let's break this down. There's so much in it. First of all, it's the democratization of search is probably the way to think about it. And everyone has an equal chance of turning up in the results, more or less. Okay. Versus at the moment where it's all skewed to the portals because the portals have done the aggregation, and that was important because having all the listings in one database meant you could search the database. Now the database is the internet, and the search tool is a robot that's run around, so this agent finding the listings. So I think if I'm a portal, I'm starting to basically shit myself. Well, I would be. If I'm not, I should be. Right, because more and more people will start using these tools to go find listings. What's interesting, I was looking the other day at the using SimilarWeb for a website, and I was just saying, the referral traffic was like 8% or something, right? And then I wonder where that's coming from, and it was ChatGPT was the first in the referral. Now go back a year, and that was never there. Okay, so we're now starting to see, because I think if you break this down, and I had this conversation with someone, I was on our podcast yesterday, I think, and my view was that we underestimate the speed of adoption by the consumer. Okay, the consumer will adopt these tools much faster than we give them credit for because it makes their life easier. People just want an easier life. Less time stuffing around. So if they start, and the cost of these agentic search models will drop. At the moment, you got to have this $200 ChatGPT subscription, the Pro subscription. So and be in the US, and you can play with it. But in 3 months, it's going to be probably part of your $20 a month subscription. Maybe they make it 25, but I'd pay that in a heartbeat. But then it's about, well, what can it do? Well, I'm no longer bound by those traditional suburbs, price range, and so on. I can think about it the way I think about it, and Harvey, you'll be different to Mal, and I'll be different again. So it allows us to search the way we want to search. But then it has the capacity, I think, if it doesn't, it will. It's not just searching text, it's searching images. So you then go, I want ocean views. Well, they may have not written ocean view, although if they haven't, they're a crappy real estate agent, right? Put it bluntly. But it'll interrogate the pictures. Go, wait, there's ocean view in this one. I'll put this in the solution set, right? And so on. So I think this agentic search truly changes the way in which consumers start to think about searching. And it has an impact on the portals. Now, how if you were, and for those who don't know, Mal's background is Prime Property Finder, Zoopla, everyone but Rightmove, basically. Sorry, and on the market. But anyway, from the good old days. And I know Mal going back to, when was it? 2006.
Around that, yeah,
20 years. When we worked together at Property Finder. Way back when. So how how do you see, if you're in the shoes of, you know, the leaders of these portals? Actually, quick question. We tried it yesterday with Toby Chapman when we're doing a podcast, and he couldn't answer the question. Do you think Rightmove should have sold to REA? Now you know all about agentic search.
Wow. I think that their share price is going to suffer, and I think that was probably the top of the market. So I think that they should have done. I think that their business model that they are insisting is going to continue or persist for the next 3 to 4 years, I think is under serious threat from technology. So yes, I would struggle to see them maintaining a 70% margin, and I think that they should have.
Right. There's your clip, Harvey. Now, what would you do if you were one of these portals?
Yeah. So I think you just made a couple of brilliant points. One is that consumer adoption is going to be so much faster than anything before, right? You know, it took a while for mobile to get going. It took a while for digital to get going. But because this is so useful, and like Simon says, you can use it in, you know, if you're booking a flight, a holiday, a car, you know, ordering your meals, whatever, you just go, look, just choose me something different. You know, I didn't know that you've had, I don't know, pizza yesterday, so I'll choose you something different today. It's going to know so much about you, and it's going to be able to anticipate almost things that you don't even know you really, really want. So that convenience factor, as Simon says, humans are, you know, by innately wanting to get to places faster and do things and save themselves time. So I think adoption is going to be really, really quick. I think that the new battleground is not going to be aggregation. It's not going to be volume. And I think, you know, deep research proves that. And interesting as well, Anthropic, which is one of the competitors to OpenAI this morning, has started to trail in the next couple of weeks. It's going to release its own version of deep research, which obviously is going to be a chunk cheaper than OpenAI's. And then, you know, Google's going to come out with one, and then one of them's going to be free, and we're just back down at base cap. So this is happening, and this is going to happen really, really fast. The battle is not going to be aggregation. The battle is going to be experience. Okay, the battle is going to be how personal is this to me? When I go onto this website, and perhaps it's an estate agent website, you know, like I said, my 14 results, I could click off onto Savills, onto Hamptons, onto Winkworths. I can go off there, and what do I find? You know, is that experience for me something that is really rich? And, you know, you spoke about prop text earlier on. I think what those guys are doing is amazing. You know, if you get onto a site and it has the ability for you to look at an image and then swipe and change that image into something that's your own furniture or a really nice coastal or retro or whatever, I think that's going to be the thing that people are looking for is not just to find things now or discover. I think it's going to be, and you were talking about this years ago, so I'm about kind of telling people what they want, right? You know, actually understanding them and bringing them to the right site, and then enabling them to experience on that site something that's going to encourage their dwell, that's going to make them want to stay and want to interact and want to know more. Interesting, when I was doing this search as well, what we put in was go find these particular criteria, but also, first of all, tell me, you know, have an extra column that says, and it's served up in a CSV file, by the way, with links. Have an extra column that says, what's a summary, 2-word summary of the type of person that this property is most appropriate for. All right. And it came back with descriptions like city, professional, or growing family, or arts aficionado, or something. And then we said, right, well, actually, can you then add on what's the potential problems with this? What actually do you anticipate is going to be the least positive area of this particular property or feature of this particular property? And it came back with things like, this is on a main road, or, you know, this is a grade 2 listed, you know, so actual things that perhaps you wouldn't otherwise, you know, certainly wouldn't find out in an advert. So I think that, you know, if I'm a portal and I'm sitting there going, actually, this thing is coming like a train and I need to be wondering what to do about it, I would absolutely be starting to look at some of the other, how my consumers, how my visitors, how my users have a great experience when they get to me. Because I don't doubt that within the, you know, SEO, as we have known it for the last 20 years, search engine optimization, that function is going to start to be superseded by this AI engine optimization, or whatever we call it. Because it's going to be looking for different things. As Simon says, having great photos that are easy for the system to read is going to be important, for it to understand. Having more data, having as much information as possible within there, even if it's not necessarily written, but baked into the site, just so that it knows more about this particular property and its features. So those are the things that are going to set it apart. Interestingly, if you look at something like Jitty over here in the UK, amazing with their jitty.com/inspirations is amazing, where you can put in things like pink bathrooms and it will bring back all the properties that they've got that have photos of pink bathrooms. Honestly, it's amazing. And that I think is where the battleground is going to be, is not just can I find this stuff, but what's my experience when I'm on there? And I think that's going to be something that everybody is going to be racing towards. And I think that nobody's there yet.
Okay, I see Simon's ready to jump in, but I just want to add a little bit of context there in terms of consumer behavior, because Edmund was very gracious and did a bit of research for us before the podcast. And he came back with some interesting figures, which basically said AI internet search, so your chat GPTs, your Gemini, Perplexity, sits at around 7% of market share in the US at the moment. So 7% of searches are being done by chat GPTs instead of Google and Bing, for example.
Oh, wait, just to be clear, that we're not talking just real estate, just all search.
Yes, we're talking all search. And this is expected to double to about 15% by 2028, and then hit critical mass where it starts becoming what you'd call a mainstream search. By 2030, that's about 15-17%.
Yeah, I call bullshit on that one, because I think
we'll have a conversation about that.
Yeah, because I think we underestimate the speed of adoption.
We do.
Right.
Here's where I go on.
Wait. Because remember those adoption curves, right? The speed it took to get to whatever it was, 1 million users of something, or 1 billion, whatever the number was, right? 100 million or whatever. And if you looked at like AI tools, it was literally weeks or some ridiculously short amount of time. Yeah. Now, the fact that it's sitting already on our desktops and on our phones, and it's actually getting more and more integrated into the phone. I mean, you got this app. I got the. No, I don't. My wife got the other one. Right. The inbuilt Apple Intelligence. Yeah, AI. Haha. Right. I now swipe down on this. If I open it up and I swipe down and say, right, I'm going to do a search, the first thing that comes up at the top is Perplexity. Search with Perplexity.
Yeah.
Right. So I click on that, and now I'm just doing a straight Perplexity search. Okay, so the level of integration is faster. So I think you're going to see that adoption 2028, 3 years time.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because the end of Edmund's research was that transactional searches, so buying something basically, are circa 3% of searches overall. And that's just, it seems to me like it's ripe for just this explosion, Mal, of absolute rocket ship growth. So what can we, I guess I sort of want to start looking towards the immediate future here. When can we expect, a meaningful change in this search? And I'm thinking of new products that are really going to be built around a transactional AI agentic search, right? What are your feelings on that sort of avenue, shall we say?
Yeah, sure. So I fundamentally agree that this is going to go. It's going to go north really, really fast. I think that one of the things that is going to change it and going to supercharge it even more than it already is voice. So, instead of, as Simon says, you can kind of click on your phone and it brings up this. We're all going to be talking to our phones and talking to our AIs, and our AIs are going to know things about us because they observe it. I've got a new AI that is, it's called BEE AI, and it's a personal AI that basically sits on my Apple Watch, listens to stuff and summarizes stuff without me having to keep clicking on, otter.ai or any of that sort of stuff. It just literally, then it summarizes my day and stuff. And I'm testing it out at the moment, but this is learning all about, and more, I think people are going to become comfortable to it. That the whole kind of privacy sort of thing is obviously a potential issue for it. But voice is going to be the way that we communicate with these AIs and the way that we talk and ask it questions and interact with it. So what I think what we're going to see as we go through, particularly this year and into next, is an absolute explosion of tools and things that are able to understand voice in whatever language, and is then going to take action on the basis we tell it to do. And that is so, mind blowing. And if you go back 6 months, a year, and it's like, well, that's crazy. But it's here, and it's, and again, there's competition coming now, with Anthropic and Claude. So I think that there are going to be tools, again, if I'm kind of looking for properties, there are going to be tools that help with this AIEO. So the AI engine optimization is going to have to be a thing, because I think that how you get into that short list or that long list of properties, so some of the properties that came back when we were doing this session on Wednesday were listed on obviously on the agent's websites, but also on Rightmove and Zoopla and so on, and it prioritized one link. So that link, and obviously we're doing a lot of work with our business model prop about how to prioritize, how to get yourselves to the top of that list, all right? How to get yourselves embedded into ChatGPT. That's going to be a really powerful and important piece of the jigsaw. I also think that that the ability of portals to respond to voice commands and to be able to do natural language searches, it's a real challenge to their business models. Because if I want a 3-bedroom property with a sea view, that's not filter that's available on the portals so far or historically. And it completely blows my premium listings, because, if the actual fact is there are only 6 of those down on the South Coast, for example, then there's not a lot of additional kind of lead generation opportunities on there. So, I think we're going to see this huge kind of a change in how these portals look at their business models. I think that's going to take it. There's going to be a lag there for sure. And we just spoke about Rightmove. I think that the 70% margin that those guys have got is based but a significant portion of it is their premium listings and their premium products and Optimizer Plus and so on, Optimizer Edge. And if those products no longer drive additional leads because essentially consumers are bypassing them, then that is a big hole in a previously cash generative business, ATM type style, that they're going to have to find a different way around. And I think that's going to be a very big challenge for them.
Simon, what would you do? What would you do? What if you're REA and Rightmove and Hemnet today, and you're seeing these tools coming out? I mean, this is the $1 million question, right? Is there any way around this?
I'd sell my shares.
You really think that we're getting to that stage of the portal life cycle where, I remember
they're
Malcolm...
overvalued. They're overvalued, right? There's this. To me, there's a bigger issue. We live in an artificial world where most of the people that go to these portals aren't actually buyers at the moment. They're tire kickers. Anyone who's a serious buyer is crawling through every listing in an area that they're interested in, and they'll spend 3 months hunting. So whether you're the super premium, the premium, the whatever, it doesn't matter. You're going to get the same level of response. So I'm not convinced that there's almost like a false economy that's created around all these things, and AI just is going to blow it apart. Okay, I think it's just going to blow it apart over time. And I think what's going to really blow it apart, and this is what I want to explore with you, Malcolm, is we're talking about consumer AI agents. What about industry AI agents or agentic assistants for real estate agents? And to me, the one that gets me most excited, and Mal and I had lunch the other day and we discussed this, is a AI marketing assistant for a real estate agent. And Mal, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So essentially when you are a real estate agent and you're looking to take a property onto the market, the question is the conversation is no longer going to be, are you on Rightmove? Yes, I'm on Rightmove. It's more going to be, it's going to be about how you market this specific property with this specific attributes to the target audience. And again, this kind of comes back to the fact when we were doing this Agentic AI search, it was like, what's the key type of customer? What's the 2-word summary that this property is perfect for? Now, you could do that essentially on the fly. So you're in the property with the vendor, you're sitting there, you're taking down the details, the AI is listening and hearing about all the properties, and then it's coming back and saying, right, this property is perfect for young professional couples, right, who work in London. So then it goes off and goes, right, okay, so where we find those people most effectively who are potentially house hunting is on this website, so they're more likely, for example, to use Gigi than they are to use Rightmove. They're more likely to be on TikTok than they are to be on Facebook, and so on and so forth. So it builds essentially a bespoke marketing plan on the fly for this property whilst you are sitting chatting to the vendor. And then you present to the vendor and say, look, this is what we think is going to be the absolute, this is going to fulfill your desire, right? Your desire is to move within the next 6 months, but to maximize the price. Great, we can do that. We can dial that slider up to maximize price rather than speed. Or if actually speed is the most important thing and price is less of a consideration, then actually this is probably going to be a better marketing plan for you. So I think that's going to be the way, and of course, portals may and will form part of that potentially, depending on the target audience of that particular portal. But the balance of power, I think, and look, as Simon says, I'm a portal boy. I grew up with portals, love portals. I just think that as with print back in the day, that was, everybody thought print was never going to move print, and then slowly, then suddenly. I think this is going to be much more suddenly than suddenly. That people are going to start to use portals as a mix, as part of their mix, rather than being the primary thing that vendors always talk about. Are you on Rightmove? It's going to be, how are you going to do that? The agent is going to be able to say, I'm going to be doing this for you, and it may include Rightmove or it may not, but it's going to be a real personal, bespoke, tailored to my property and make me feel ridiculously special. And that actually you're doing all of this stuff for me as a seller. I think that's going to be where estate agents are going to be, where consumers are going to be, and that's, as an extension of that, that's where the marketing channels such as portals are going to have to be as well.
Yeah, I think the interesting, the way I view it is, I take a picture of a house, I know the location, I've got a price in mind, I upload that. The AI already knows my preference for spending 20% of my commission in marketing it. So if it's a £500,000 place and I'm getting a massive 1% commission, right, I'm going to spend £1,000 marketing this. And at the moment, it's sort of a bit of a spray and pray approach. I've got to be everywhere based on my subscriptions. And I've got a feeling that each portal will end up with different segments of the market that's going to go after. We all know prime location is very good inside the M25. Okay, so you're not going to be on prime location. Well, it used to be. Okay,
yes, top end. Yeah,
the top end, excellent. So then of course you used to have find a property, which doesn't exist anymore, but that used to be good in sort of southeast or southeast, and so on. So there were demographics, and there are inherent demographics, because it's not like there's 100% overlap between on the market, Zoopla and Rightmove in this example. They'll each have slightly different audience segments that they are strong in. But if I'm marketing a property that's new home buyer 28 to 35, I might have a more of a spend on Facebook or Instagram or some other channel mix rather than the traditional approach. And if I do that, then why am I upgrading this property to a premium property on Rightmove? It just doesn't make sense. So the way I think about it is, at the moment we've sort of got maximum yield being extracted. Forget price, right? But the maximum yield mix being extracted because of there is a lack of full information in the market. Okay, we just don't know what's truly effective, what's not truly effective. Okay, and then what will happen is over time that'll skew away. It's not going to skew towards, it's going to have to skew away, because the marketing mix will be different based on the property and the most likely buyer of that property. And in theory, if there's 100,000 properties for sale, there should be 100,000 different marketing mixes rather than 5, right? Which there sort of is today. And you see what's happening with TV. TV's going that direction because they've gone, oh, wait a second, they're all on YouTube. So now it's all skewing away to the channel where people are really watching. So there is an inevitability in this occurring. Okay? Right. And I think I read the other day Mal, in your newsletter, which if anyone doesn't subscribe, they should subscribe on modelprop.ai. Okay. And it's a fantastic weekly read about AI and what's happening in the industry, and always with a bit of a good edgy angle to it, which I think makes it more engaging. And I think the point you made there is this is the worst it's ever going to be. Yeah. All right. It's not the best for AI. This is the worst. Okay. It's going to get better. And if I'm sitting there as a real estate agent and I'm in the United Kingdom or in Spain or I'm in the United States, and my marketing spend is a meaningful percentage of my P&L. Okay. And I have a way in which I can improve that by 3 or 4 percentage points, because that means it's straight to my hip pocket. I am going to do it, because what I care more about is 2 things: winning a new listing and selling the property. If I can do that more efficiently and effectively, if in theory I never had to be on a portal, I could be on Facebook 100% of the time, I would do that, as long as I tick those 2 boxes.
Absolutely. Which I guess brings us to the, I think we'll call this the final question of the interview. And I'd like to give you both a swing at this one. Mal, when we were emailing before the show, you said the key question that we need to ask is, are we now beginning to live in a post-aggregator world? I'd like to hear both of your thoughts on that. So Mal, as you're the guest, I'd like to give you first swing at that. And then Simon, I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. So Mal, are we living in a post-aggregator world?
Yeah, so I fundamentally believe, as Simon said, that the fragmentation of everybody's experience is real and is happening. So if you go onto Netflix, you are presented with a very personal curation of things that you might like to watch, and that is going to play out right across everything that we look at. So AI is going to give data. It's going to help us to understand much more what we ourselves like, and therefore what we want to look at, but also how that then comes back into us via various media. So I think that the aggregation as a convenience factor that drove the portals and has driven and secured them all of their positions in our home searches, property searches, I think is over. And I think that we are now looking at, right, how do we as organizations, as businesses, attend to the needs of buyers, sellers, landlords, renters, because it's by applying our skills to each individual rather than just kind of spraying and praying. That is going to be the new battleground. And I think that's going to be really, really exciting for everybody. And that's going to change how we all approach property moves.
Simon?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if you look at what Machula and Trover did historically, is they were website agnostic. They didn't care if it came from a small site or a large site. It was a listing and someone did a search. The problem was it was very basic, those front ends. But they're basically doing what AI is doing today. Okay? But they were fundamentally restricted by fielded data. What do they know? And then allow people to search. Now you've got 2 things. One is I no longer have to aggregate. I don't have to, crawling of sites. Forget that. The AI agents are going to just go do them as a human would do it. Okay, just with no emotion, a lot more speed, and a lot more technology behind it. Okay, and then secondly, they'll be able to unearth information in a listing. You might say, I need to have a kid's playground in the back, a little jungle gym or something, right? It'll look at all the pictures and go, oh, there's a trampoline. Or they'll even then go the next level of going, there is room to put a trampoline there because I've worked out the dimensions of the property, and so on. And it will fundamentally go from what was historically search, where you're just sort of searching and you're searching and you're searching. And we've talked about this over time, and anyone who's been to the conferences, I've done a presentation over the last few of them about from search to tell, right? We are going down that direction of tell. where, Mal gets his 14 responses. But it's basically the computer telling you, these are the 14 you should look at. Do not waste your time. Now, if you're going to invest £500,000 or £1 million buying a property, you will waste your time because you are scared that you're missing out on something. And there won't be that inherent trust in technology, at least not by old people like us. But the younger generation, they'll blindly follow this, right? We also have to put ourselves in the mindset of that younger generation. And the computer says jump, they jump. The computer says stand on one leg, they stand on one leg. The parents do, they just ignore you, right? Okay? But they will follow what the computer tells them to do because they're brought up in that world. So if the computer says here's 5 homes that you should buy or you should rent, which is the important one, massive segment. Okay, I'll rent one of them. I'm not buying it. It solves my problem pretty quickly. If I can press another button that says reserve it, all right, here's a £500 deposit to reserve this. I can then go and have a look at it or whatever I need to do for renting it, especially a short-term rental. It'll just, all these other intermediaries, okay, will vaporize. And I think the way we expressed it yesterday is at the moment it goes searcher, portal, agent, seller, right? There's 2 intermediaries in this game. The portal, which is the aggregator, the agent, who has their own site, and they're the listings manager, and they're acting really on behalf of the salesperson. Well, AI just shoves someone in between. It actually becomes the real estate agent for the buyer. If you're a buyer's agent, you're dead. Put it bluntly, right? Okay? The industry, at least. Okay? Because that's technology, it's going to take that role. Well, then all you end up happening is eventually the real estate agent's marketing robot talking to my buying robot at a speed that none of us can imagine, and then it'll all be negotiated. It'll come down to press this button for DocuSign. We've already taken the money out of your bank account. We've already negotiated it with the bank, and the bank is already pre-approved because the bank knows exactly how much you're earning. ... The notary's already electronically done it at some point. It just becomes signed, done. When do you want to move in, sir?
I do. I think a lot of that is absolutely on its way. I do think that property remains uniquely almost a bit of a human story, right? And property, people get so that they're going to live in this place, right? So yes, they may discover it, but I still think that there will be somebody there, and a real estate agent, to have that reassuring conversation with somebody that they're not making a £20,000 mistake. Because I remember when we set up prime location back in 2000, that the fear from estate was always that they were going to be disintermediated by this technology. 25 years later, they're still here and as busy as ever. So I do think that whilst AI will replace a lot of the kind of the functions that are machine led or screen led, I still think that you're going to have vendors who are going to want to make sure that there's humans in the loop, and everything that I see indicates that this transaction remains too huge to trust entirely to the machines. But
yes, yet today. But think about this. Go back 20 years, actually 30 years, there was no AVMs.
Yeah.
Right? So what was the price of the house? It was what an agent told you it was and what was negotiated. Now there's an AVM. How often, unless there's massive demand, right? There's almost like a floor price that the AVM sets, and it might go above the floor price if there's massive demand and people are willing to make an irrational decision above a rational price. Okay? But they never go, and they'll go below the price when someone's willing to make a compromise to get cash faster or some other reason. But there's a price. So in general, the market will clear at that price. Right? The market should clear. So that takes out one of the roles of the agent. Okay, if that's one of the roles of the agent that is gone in this process, because the bank's not going to loan to just because the house is £1 million and you're paying 1.2 million for it, the bank's not going to go, well, I'll loan you up to 1.2 million because you decided to pay that money. The bank's going, I'm loaning you at the million valuation. Everything above is your problem. Okay, the bank's already there. So I got a feeling that the difference between, yes, they said, the property portals will kill the agent. No, right? Because all the property portals did was replace the newspaper. It killed the newspaper. Didn't kill the agent. The question is does the AI agent kill the portal star? Okay, just to quote the video, kill the radio star, right? AI agents killing the portal star. And I think the answer is there's a chance it does. And if that happens, who's next in the AI agent sites? And the answer will be real estate agents, not for all transactions, but for many. Okay. And that's because, for example, you'll have sophisticated, if you're a professional investor in property, why are you dealing with an agent? Why are you paying a commission? You know what you're looking for. You know the price you're going to pay. If you're someone who's buying your third or fourth house, do you really need a real estate agent?
I think for investors, it's a big question. I think I think percentage-wise of the whole market, that's relatively small. But people don't transact often enough. I don't think so. So actually, the fact that it takes 10, 15 years between moves, between sales, obviously technology moves on, absolutely. But, you still see it. People just need to have that reassuring kind of, honestly, it's fine. You're with the right people. It's going to cost this much. You're right about AVMs. Again, when that Zoopla, we kind of introduced them to the UK. And that was, and everybody was like freaked out by them, Asians particularly, but they still didn't have that huge impact on the agent. In the end still set the price, right? And it was still kind of agreed with the vendor. So I think that there will be guidance and the tech will help people to understand more about the properties they're going to buy. It will help them to see their lifestyle much more clearly when they move into these homes. But I still think that at transaction time, what you are going to need as a seller particularly is you're going to need somebody to really make sure that you are not messing up this massive, biggest transaction in your life probably. And just like we were talking about humans, that they act through convenience and through, wanting to do the easiest way. I still think that the fear of messing this up is going to make sure that for at least the foreseeable, my lifetime, that there is still going to be people in that particular, still humans in that.
They'll be trained psychologists.
That's
where the way I
see people.
Because think of one thing: how many people buy cars now online, sight unseen? They trust the machines. They turn up out the front of the house. Done.
Yeah.
Right.
Risk is different.
The risk is different, but what we've learned over time is that people are very fast adapters to risk. Okay, and we should never underestimate people's ability to adapt. Malcolm, fantastic. This is always a fun conversation. Bottom line is things are going to get hairier for portals, not easier for them.
And I'll ask you, do you think the Rightmove should have sold?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Because I think the fundamental challenge for them is you can't just keep jacking up the prices. Okay, and if you can't just keep jacking up the prices, then you're going to have to sacrifice your EBITDA margin to do innovation. The question is, what have you really got? If aggregation's out the window now because technology can do the same job at a personal agent level, an AI agent level, does the aggregation for me, I don't need to aggregate the whole market. I just need to aggregate those listings that are relevant to me, right? And that's the difference. So what's Rightmove got? Brand. Bottom line, it's brand. Okay. And on that note, okay, I'm going to go sell my Rightmove shares. No, I don't have any.
Simon, before we get out of here, a little birdie told me that we're going to be in Bangkok next month. Can you give us a little bit of a pitch on PropTech and Portal Watch Bangkok 2025?
Sure, if it's only a little birdie telling you, I mean, we've got a slight problem. Should be a honking great big flying elephant. Okay, right. On the 12th and 13th of March, we've got 180, 200 C-level leaders from around the world gathering in Bangkok to talk about the future of PropTech and portals, marketplaces. AI, number one agenda item. I've been going through some of the presentation topics, and two letters appear very frequently. Together, AI, about how things are potentially changing. I'm going to do a presentation all about agentic search. I'm going to show a lot of the stuff we just talked about today. I'm just going to pull together some really interesting examples of how it's working today. I'll use the US as an example as I'm here at the moment, just to see just how well it is. I love the idea of what Malcolm's talking about when I ask AI to tell me, well, who does this property appeal to? Okay. What tool were you using, by the way, for that? Because I think it's good for the audience to know tools.
Within deep research, so within ChatGPT. So as it was bringing back the items, I then just prompted it again and said, look, actually, for all these that you found, can you just summarize which ones are, in 2 words, who the ideal customer is or the ideal person to buy this property is?
Fantastic. And so join us in Bangkok. If you want to learn more, have conversations with smart people doing super interesting stuff, whether it's from people who like providing tools like what iVox does and PropTech does and so on. But don't think of someone's pitching your product. Think of someone's actually spending time thinking about how technology is changing their part of the world, right through to portals and marketplaces and PropTech companies who are just saying, how am I really embracing this? We do these conferences with the sole objective of getting people to spend time together and to learn from each other. We're nearly at an hour, which is about 20 minutes longer than we thought we were going to be. But these conversations are so important and so interesting. So,
Absolutely.
Harvey, over to you to wrap up.
Thank you very much. Okay, so from me, it's going to be goodbye to Mal McCallion.
Goodbye, guys. Thanks so much. We enjoyed it.
It's going to be goodbye from Simon Baker.
Yeah, goodbye. And it's goodbye from him.
And it's going to be goodbye from me.
2 Ronnies, but really bad versions.
And not nearly as funny. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Wait, does that make me Ronnie Corbett or you Ronnie Barker?
We'll let the audience decide. See you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.